Hi friends, this is Mainak Misra and welcome back to my channel. Today I will discuss with you Ingmar Bergman's Wild Strawberries. Ingmar Bergman is one of the most important filmmakers in the history of cinema. Wild Strawberries is a classic film and it is one of the most important films ever made. A 78-year-old egotistical, self-centered and cold doctor and medical practitioner reflects on his past life and realizes that he worked diligently but did not receive true love and affection throughout his life. However, he doesn't want to blame anybody for that. He only blames himself. At the dusk of his life, in his twilight years, he tries to come to the terms with life. In the process of rediscovering himself, he tries to find the ways of redemption, reconciliation, and true meaning of life. In his twilight years, his golden old memories illuminate his current life. Ingmar Bergman weaves wild strawberries with dreams, memories, self-reflection, reveries, and nostalgia. Wild Strawberries is about dreams. While driving to Lund to be awarded Dr. Jubilaris, Professor Isak Borg suddenly diverges to his childhood house. He stopped there. His pregnant daughter-in-law, Marianne, goes swimming. He walks to the house and finds a patch of wild strawberries and walks down the memory lane. He dreams about his cousin sister and childhood sweetheart Sarah, plucking wild strawberries to present her deaf uncle on his birthday. His twin sisters at the dinner table inform that she is having an affair with Siegfried. His brother Siegfried flirts with Sarah, but Sarah remains fully committed to Isak. Sarah does not accept that and she leaves the dinner table angrily to protest that. However, as destiny has it, she ends up marrying Siegfried later. Suddenly, all those childhood memories flash back on Isak's mind. He dreams about his family members, his siblings, and now out of his 10 siblings, only Isak is alive. Sarah is also alive and in her 70s. Wild Strawberries is also about nightmares. Isak realizes that the final call can come anytime. He is afraid of his impending death, and that fear turns into nightmares, a series of nightmares. In a nightmare, he walks along an empty street and finds a wall clock without hands. He takes his watch out of his pocket and finds it handless as well. A structureless human suddenly falls on the ground and blood spills out. A hearse carrying a coffin strikes an electric lamppost and the coffin slips out. A hand pops out of the coffin. And when Isak approaches to the coffin, he discovers none but himself inside the coffin. In the second nightmare, his wife complains about him being cold. In the other nightmare, Mr. Altman, whose car almost collided with Isak's car, appears as an examiner. Isak fails to detect a bacteria from a sample with a microscope. He incorrectly announces a living woman as dead. These are the series of nightmares portrayed in Wild Strawberries. The Bergman family, Ingmar Bergman's own family, has a lot of similarities with Isak Borg's family. Initially, Bergman wanted to build Isak Borg character just like his father. He was born and brought up in a Catholic family, a strict Catholic family. His father was a pastor, very strong, a priest, a strong person, a cold person, much like Isak Borg. And the strained relationship with his father tormented him throughout his life. The cold environment in his family had a long-lasting impact on Bergman's mind. The same characteristics Isak Borg has. He has a strained relationship with his son Evolved and his wife. And even his daughter-in-law Marion thinks that he's an old person, a cold person, only thinks about his profession. That's all. However, this Isak Borg character turns into more and more like Bergman. Bergman always dwelt in his childhood days. He dreams about his childhood days even when he was an adult, all throughout his life. And that had a long-lasting impact on his filmography. His contemplation or the impact of his childhood days inspired his films. Initially, Isak Borg was a self-centered, egotistical, cold professor, and then he transitioned into more of a philosophical and spiritual person. So the character turns more into like Bergman. It starts with the characteristics like Bergman's father, but it becomes more and more like Ingmar Bergman. The reflections of Ingmar Bergman are present in Isak. Wild Strawberries was deeply inspired by one of the life events of Ingmar Bergman. Once he was driving to Dalecarlia from Stockholm. In the early morning of a late spring, cuckoos were singing. Then suddenly he stopped midway in Uppsala at his grandmother's house. He walked to the front door. He entered the house and got surprised to see the house is in the same condition. He saw that house was in the same condition as it was during his childhood days. So he thought it's wonderful to see that the house was in the same condition. Entering the house and getting back those childhood days and exiting the house and returning in the current days. And that inspired Wild Strawberries, that one incident. Human beings typically are like the story of Wild Strawberries. Initially, they start Just like Isak Borg, they crave for materialistic life, money, wealth, house, car, and they follow a hollow and meaningless way of life. But at the dusk of their lives, during the twilight years, they turn into more and more like philosophical and spiritual persons. They seek for love, happiness, sympathy, joy, all these traits. And same thing happened for Isak Borg as well. So, Wild Strawberries is the story of all of us. Bergman brilliantly portrays the story of all human beings. He wrote the screenplay in Karolinska Hospital while undergoing treatment for gastric ulcer in the late spring of 1957. And he had a troubled time that time. His third marriage was on the verge of breakup. His romantic relationship with Bibi Anderson was, was about to end, and he had tough time. And he wrote it over a period of 2 months, and he brilliantly shows both sides of Isak Borg, from being a self-centered and totally materialistic person who thinks about himself to a person more and more of philosophical and spiritual traits. He clearly shows his screenplay clearly shows that transition. And one of the important aspects of Wild Strawberries is the black and white magnificent cinematography by Gunnar Fischer. Each frame of Isak Borg's close-ups looks like a black and white painting, portrait, and especially lighting during the nightmare scenes while he is walking along the empty street. The bright lighting shows Isak Borg's helplessness, vulnerability, and his fear of the impending death. The final call can come anytime. Brilliant cinematography. Producer Carl Dimling and Bergman had to persuade very hard to convince the Swedish matinee idol Victor Sjöström to play the character of Isak. He was already in his late 70s and about to retire from film, so he was not ready initially. However, they persuaded hard and he finally agreed. He brilliantly shows these multiple shades of Isak Borg character. His relationship with his family, but he's a warm and kind-hearted person to the hitchhikers like Sarah, Anders and Victor. So those multiple shades are brilliantly portrayed by Victor Sjöström. Bibi Anderson as Sarah, Isak Borg's childhood sweetheart and hitchhiker, is vivacious and illuminates the screen all the time. And Ingrid Thulin as a broken housewife. Evolved doesn't want to have that baby, and she is pregnant. So his broken wife, she currently has a troubled relationship with Evolved, about to take divorce. But she is also a warm and kind-hearted daughter-in-law. So Ingrid Thulin brilliantly shows those two sides of Marion, the character Marion. And we get Max von Sydow in a minor role as the gas station owner, and everybody delivers outstanding performance. Wild Strawberries is a classic film, one of the most important films in the history of cinema. So I think you have already seen it, and if you haven't, then please see this film. And the request goes again that please support my channel, press the bell icon so that you don't miss regular updates, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much. Please support me. Again and again I'm requesting, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you and bye.